Okay, Houston, that leaves us with just the computer, which I'm shutting down now. And that's it. We just put Sir Isaac Newton in the driver's seat.
Gene, we have a situation brewing with the carbon dioxide.
We had a CO2 filter problem on the lunar module.
5 filters on the limb.
Which were meant for 2 guys for a day and a half. So I told the doc.
You're already up to 8 on the gauges. Anything over 15 and you get impaired judgment, blackouts, the beginnings of brain asphyxia.
What about the scrubbers on the command module?
They take square cartridges.
The ones on the limb are round.
Tell me this isn't a government operation.
This just isn't a contingency we've remotely looked at.
Those CO2 levels are going to be getting toxic.
Well, I suggest you gentlemen invent a way to put a square peg in a round hole. Rapidly.
Okay, people, listen up. People upstairs handed us this one, and we gotta come through. We gotta find a way to make this fit into the hole for this, using nothing but that. Let's get it organized.
Okay, let's build a filter.
Better get some coffee going, too, someone.
Hello, Houston, we have a problem. Hi, everyone, I'm Bonnie Curtis, and I'm a film producer. And it just screamed appropriate, following the astronaut, to show that clip. And I am not lying, I use this clip every time I speak. Because when people say, okay, what does a producer do? I say, have you ever seen that film, Apollo 13? Well, you know that moment when they're up in the capsule and they're losing oxygen and carbon dioxide's coming in and they gotta figure out how to fit a square peg into a round hole? That's what I do every day of my life. And I think it's very relatable to any career. I think it's also very relatable to any life. And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to go through several stories from my filmmaking career. I've been in film for 25 years, 15 of which were spent at the side of Steven Spielberg. I worked on Schindler's List, Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, Minority Report. I also produced a little film a few years ago called Albert Nobbs. Yes, we got nominated for 3 Oscars, and I did it without him. That's another speech. Now, before we launch into the 3 points I want to give to you to take into your workday, take into your life, 3 tools you can use when you encounter challenges and need to overcome them or solve them, your daily problems. It can be anything from going through a breakup to needing to prepare for a presentation at work to producing a film. But before we start, I want to make an agreement with you. I'm from Hollywood, so bear with me. It's a very, 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 what shall I say? There's not a lot to this agreement. I just want you and I to agree that I am going to completely change your life today. Not a lot, not a lot. And I don't mean just a little bit. I want to completely reboot you today. On your deathbed, I want you to say, my life was horrific until the day I heard Bonnie Curtis speak. Now, if you haven't noticed, I'm kind of a little bit of a cheerleader, which is a large part of what producing is. I actually was a cheerleader in high school. I want you to know what I'm about to do is more for me than for you. It helps me loosen up. But we're going to give a little shout out to Chicago Ideas Week. Are you ready? There will be no jumping. Ready? Okay. Here we are. And here we'll stay, because CIW is the best in every way. Oh my God, I'm ridiculous. Okay, so let's start. We're gonna make a list, one of my favorite things to do in life. Apollo 13. They've got a huge situation. It's life or death, which not many of us hope to God encounter in our lives. This is a life or death situation. And these guys have to deal with it very, very practically. They have to fit a square peg into a round hole so that they can filter out the carbon dioxide out of the capsule. Now, all they have to work with is themselves and what is on the table before them. I believe that is unbelievably applicable to our lives and any situation that we encounter. We cannot solve the problems at work or home without bringing all of ourselves into the room, into the meeting, to the dinner table, all of our authentic self to the situation. And we need to encourage all those people in the room with us to do the same. Get it all out on the table. The hidden element within you or your work partner might be the key to the solution of the current problem. Let me give you an example. So I was raised in the Bible Belt. I'm a Dallas, Texas girl. I'm currently not there because Ebola is. But I counted once before I turned 22, I attended church 13,720 times. Cut to, I moved to Hollywood. Now, you're sitting in a meeting in Hollywood. People are, of all different walks. Nobody's really talking about their religion or their faith. But you encounter a situation, let's say, for example, you're working on a film called Amistad. And you're in a room with all these Academy Award-winning writers and artists and directors. And someone poses the question, well, how would a child be taught the Bible? I know that. You do, Bonnie? Why do you know that? Well, I attended church 13,720 times before I was 22. Do you need to know all the books of the Bible? Do you need to know the 12 tribes of Israel? What do you need? I got it. Or let's say that it's Saving Private Ryan. Guys, what would a kid from Oklahoma who was raised in religion say right before he's about to shoot the sniper rifle? How many scriptures do you need? It literally became my worth in the room. And it transitioned me into all sorts of responsibilities. But you would have never, ever, ever made me believe that my religious upbringing would be the secret to my success as a film producer with Steven Spielberg. Never. And it was. So when these gentlemen have to look at everything on the table, it is crucial that they and you bring all the parts of you into the room, into the meeting. Be your authentic self, because if they can't handle it, you're in the wrong room. Get another job, get in another relationship, but be in a place where you can bring all the parts of you into the room. Now, being as that I am a film producer, don't worry, I'm not going to do another chair. And I love to keep organized. I love to keep a list. One of my favorite quotes from the film Schindler's List is, "The list is life." So we're going to keep a little list today. Another quote from the film, "The list is an absolute good." I believe this wholeheartedly. Get up every morning, make a list. I'm just slipping that in as a little bonus. That's not part of the formal presentation. You don't have to write that down. But our first item on our list is all the parts of you. Bring every single bit of yourself into every room and get it out on that table. It is how you will fix the problem. Our second item on the list comes from an experience I had while making Schindler's List with Mr. Spielberg. Now, many of you, I'm sure, recognize this gate. This is the gate at Auschwitz-Birkenau in Krakow, Poland, where we spent 4 months filming Schindler's List. It was the pinnacle of my professional experience. I don't think it will ever be topped. And it was amazing, amazing to watch him make that film. I was at the Heartbeat on a daily basis. We were solving problems on a daily basis. We were still in Los Angeles at the time, but we were going to begin filming in 1 week. The phone call comes in. We have a problem. Okay, first of all, this is me on the phone. First of all, to my producer in Poland, it's not a problem, it's a situation. We can solve it. We can't shoot at Auschwitz-Birkenau. What? We're coming over there in 1 week to make a film about the Holocaust and we can't shoot at Auschwitz-Birkenau? What have you people been doing? We've met with the World Jewish Congress. We've talked to the president of Poland. We have done everything. It's sacred ground. They will not let us film there. And in fact, there was a mini-series that filmed there a few years ago, and they were not kind to the property. So we're already fighting a losing battle. No one has told Stephen this. Sometimes, when you're in a high-pressure situation like that and a big problem occurs, it is often a really good idea to involve the boss. Because he or she, I promise you, is the boss for a reason. So I gird my loins. I head down the hall to tell Mr. Spielberg, knock, 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 knock. Stephen, we've got a problem. I mean, a situation. They won't let us film at Birkenau. And I'm going to tell you exactly what he did. Okay, see if they'll let us film outside the gate. I don't need to go onto the property. If you guys will just put up some facades of barracks, I can pull the train outside and we'll just pretend like we're inside. So, that's what we did. So you're outside the gate here, not inside. So I'm like, seriously? We've been messing around with this situation for 2 months. I go down and ask the guy the question, and he solves it in about 20 seconds. And I sat back, I thought about that a lot. There's many things you can pull from that, and our philosopher really inspired me today because maybe I'm not a producer, maybe I'm a philosopher, I don't know. But what he did that I found fascinating is he got on the other side. Now, he physically got on the other side of the gate, the other side of the Birkenau wall. He literally saw the shot, the situation from a completely different point of view. And therein found the solution. I think that is so important when you're dealing with a situation. Let's put it in the personal realm. Let's say that you are going through a breakup. Looking at that from the opposite point of view would be, you know what? I'm going to stay in this relationship. Take yourself through that thought process. Oh, no. Oh, no. Immediately, clarity, clarity, clarity on the 2 or 3 steps that you need to take to get through the situation. Or the presentation at work. What am I trying to convince them to do? What is my idea? Well, you know what? Let's say that we don't do my idea. Let's say that we completely ignore the problem and we just don't do it. What would happen then? In taking yourself through that thought process, you will often find the solution. Now, number 2 on our list, get on the other side. The third and final point I want to tell, and story I want to tell, am I changing your life? I just wanted to check in on that little, no pressure. The third story I want to tell is from a little film we made called Saving Private Ryan. So you come into work on a Monday, and the topic on the to-do list that day is recreate the D-Day invasion. Seriously? So that was the task. And I'm gonna strip off, a lot of the romance of it. I know it did for me. I had all these illusions of what filmmaking was. And it's a lot of work. They're long hours, but you're really just problem solving constantly. And we looked at, the D-Day invasion. How are we gonna make that believable on screen? It's gonna require an enormous amount of manpower. It's gonna require a lot of research. And hopefully, there's a few things we can access so that it can look like this. I did that. We did a few things. Number one, who has made a film that has had enormous battle sequences that we can pick up the phone and call, because this was before email, pick up the phone and call and just ask them what they did. And doing that research, we came across the fact that a little film called Braveheart had filmed in Ireland, had enormous battle sequences that they accomplished practically with no visual effects. And we loved the way it looked. So we thought, well, let's go to Ireland. What did they do? They hired the Irish Army. Let's hire the Irish Army. They're not busy anymore. Another time I'll tell you a story when one of our actors lost his weapon. We almost launched a full-scale war in Ireland. But we hired these guys, we put them in tents, we fed them, we had that manpower on the beach, and we literally hired the crew. The men and women who had pulled off Braveheart helped us for a series of 2 weeks on those beaches in Ireland pull off what looked like D-Day. Now, there is some footage that exists. There are a lot of photographs, some very shaky footage, but it was an invasion after all. There weren't a lot of guys setting up a Steadicam and getting us the coverage we desired, but there were a lot of veterans. So we contacted a group of veterans through a lovely man named Stephen Ambrose, who he's no longer with us, but he created the D-Day Museum in New Orleans, which I strongly encourage you to go see. And we brought these guys into a room. We showed them some stuff that we had shot. They reacted to it. We basically did what I like to call calling in the experts. We are not special. It has all been done before. There is nothing new under the sun. You can always find someone who has done it before. So bring all the parts of you, get on the other side, and call in the experts. Now, I will only wrap up by saying, you can work like a philosopher, you can work like an astronaut, you can work like a fighter, you can work like a newsman, a journalist, you can work like a producer. You can work like any job you can think of. But the most important thing is that you work like you. You are what is of value. You are what is different in any situation. You are the only thing that is unique. Now, do we remember our agreement? On your deathbed. Thank you for listening.